Please join me in welcoming Jesse Eisenberg. Thank you for coming. So, unique opportunity to talk about something at the start that you didn't make. What led you to select this scene to share with us?
I'm friends with the director, Richard Iwade, and I just think I really hope, you see the movie and with subtitles, too, because I'm realizing now it's probably hard to, understand some of the Welsh accent. But it's just, the movie is so funny and emotional, and, it's interesting because we're playing Zombieland, which is so different, but Zombieland, the thing that all the actors who were in it liked about it was that it was so emotional. The movie is really funny and it's scary and all that stuff, and but actors, you don't really care about that stuff. You want it to make you as an actor, you want something to be emotional and engaging and oh, this is how I would actually feel in these weird circumstances. And Submarine is that way too. Here's this kid and he's imagining his death and how he'd be celebrated by everybody who ignores him in school, and it's really sad as well as being absurdist.
I also think it's notable that there's some resonance with your own work. I mean, but when this movie came out in 2010, Zombieland was 2008 or so. 9.
Yeah.
And, Squid and Whale was 2005. You had done a few movies that had resonated in a certain kind of way with audiences, and you had established kind of who you were in a way.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to sort of realize that audiences had expectations for you as an actor?
Gosh, I never, I guess the first time actors think of themselves from the outside perspective of oh, people expect this thing from me, it's a terrible day, because as an actor you're trained to be able to do anything, and my background is in theater acting, so I do Greek plays and weird things in our town as well, but the day you think, oh, movie audiences want me to do X, Y, and Z is the day you realize you're kind of a limited commodity, and probably everybody feels that way. I think I was complaining to my dad, around that time. I was like, oh, I'm doing the comedy thing. My dad, I was like, I'm so limited. And my dad said, Angelina Jolie, probably she was the most famous person in the world at the time. He's like, she probably gets annoyed that everybody sees her as sultry. And I'm like, oh, yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe some actor has something that they feel is both limiting to them, even though it's the thing that audiences like.
Yeah, so can you talk a bit about your journey to doing bigger movies? Because, doing something like a Noah Baumbach movie is one thing. Doing a studio movie about a zombie apocalypse, totally different universe of sorts. So what was it like for you when these sort of bigger opportunities started to come to you, and how did you assess them?
The real truth of being an actor is that I auditioned for Zombieland because I was in San Diego that week doing this Greek play for Camp Pendleton. So, there's a big military base there. And I was doing this Greek play about, Philoctetes, which is this play about, this soldier who's abandoned on this island. And so we were performing it for, soldiers around the country, because the play was about, the Trojan War, and it was opening a dialogue with soldiers and stuff, and it's about PTSD, this Greek 2,500-year-old play. And so I was in San Diego, so my agent said, if you want to drive up to LA after the Greek play, you can audition in person for Zombieland. Otherwise, maybe you could make a tape at your home or whatever, but that's not going to really get you the part. And so I drove up to LA and I auditioned for it, and right away it felt like, oh, this is great, I could be in it. But I would not have auditioned for it in LA. I wouldn't have flown myself across the country to audition for a movie. It sounds like a crazy thing to do. My friend Kunal Nair is the richest friend I have. He's on The Big Bang Theory. He played Raj in The Big Bang Theory. He's a great actor. I'm sorry that I said he's rich, but I'll tell you the reason I'm saying it is because, you would know he's rich because it's public. They made tons and tons and tons of money from that TV show. The week he auditioned for The Big Bang Theory, which he was on for 10 years and made, more money than anyone I know, he auditioned for the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which was a summer stock thing where you get a few lines, if you're good, if you're lucky, in a Shakespeare play, and then you do sets for the other Shakespeare plays. And so that same week he auditioned for The Big Bang Theory, he didn't get the part in the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. And so that's when people tell me they want to be an actor, I'll tell them that story. Because that's the life of an actor. And if you want to act so much that you would do it to get 2 lines in the Oregon Shakespeare's, play of Cymbeline, then you should pursue it. But if you want to be on The Big Bang Theory, don't, because the odds of getting into something like that are so small. But the odds of getting into the other thing are also small too. It's a terrible profession.
Oh, so on that note, talk a little bit about how you were feeling, say, after Adventureland and these movies that were very well reviewed, very well received, about the next stage. Because shortly after this, you did a very different kind of movie, which is The Social Network.
Yeah.
So if you look at that contrast so close together, it really opens up some fascinating questions about where your head was at the time.
Yeah, and all I'll say is it's pure luck. It's pure luck. It's totally luck. I mean, like, I try hard, and I went to acting school, and I do a good job at auditions. I have anxiety, but, like, sometimes that's helpful in an audition because it kind of, gives you some energy. But otherwise, it's total 100% luck because those things that you're right for. So now I'm directing movies, I'm casting them. And it's the craziest thing. Like, I'll get tapes. As a director, they'll send you 100 tapes of actors for the same role. And you just go like, yeah, they're all very, very good actors. And they're all doing very, very good things. And this is the only person that looks like the kid I knew that I based this on. So we'll cast that kid. But actors, on the other side of it, are like, I didn't get that part because I'm not good. Or I made the wrong choice, or something. It's just not like that at all. And so I'm the recipient of complete luck, in the same way. It's like winning the lottery. You don't have to go to medical school. You can go to drama school or not go to drama school and still be an actor. Like, it's total luck. So the fact that you mentioned I was in these movies when I was young, this is now 15 years ago. I just think it's like luck. Like, I didn't decide, now I want to be in a drama. Like, no actor has ever made a decision that came true.
Well, just to give you a little bit more credit, because actors always say, I'm so lucky, I'm so blessed to be doing this and that. You still have to read the thing and make some decisions on the basis of that.
Yeah, but I'm saying like 150 other people are making those same readings and realizing, when a good movie comes out and people are like, oftentimes people say, well, you covered entertainment, still cover it, but I covered entertainment more than anybody I know personally. And, people say, oh, this actor makes great choices. Like, it's just, like, I don't know actors who do that. Everybody knows a good project. Every actor in Hollywood, from somebody who has a line on Law & Order to Meryl Streep, everybody knows what the good things are. It's not, like, hard to know what the good things are, And so everybody wants to be in those good things, but they don't get the parts in those good things. So when people say, oh, actor makes great choices, it's not. It's just that they have the limited power in that particular moment to know that, to be able to get into the thing. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, also, something like Zombieland is a really fascinating case study because it was an original movie. It wasn't like, do you want to be in a franchise of sorts? And
Right.
So it was a different kind of question that probably some actors have to wrestle with, and I know you had to question that. You had to deal with those questions later, but
yeah.
In this particular instance, I mean, what struck you about Zombieland? The potential of this movie, which has a very unique tone and isn't exactly traditional horror, but it's also
right.
More of a comedy. So, what do you remember of that?
I just remember reading it. I was on the set of Adventureland actually, and Greg Mottola, who directed Adventureland, he had just directed Superbad, so they offered him Zombieland because he was getting all the good comedy scripts at the time. And so the first time I heard of the movie, it was from Greg, who said, "Oh, I just read I was asking him like, what are you getting sent?" And Greg has ambitions to do like great French films. He has like higher art ambitions. And so he was like, oh, they sent me this movie, Zombieland. I don't even know he read it, but the title is so stupid that I think he just thought, why the hell would I read this thing? Because he wanted to do drama, more, whatever, something else. And so that's when I first heard about it. And then I got sent the script, and I wasn't in, like, the powerful position that Greg was at the time. So, of course, I read it. And I remember just thinking, oh, my God, this is genuinely funny, and the acting has to be good. Like, you'll see in the movie, and maybe you've already seen it, but you'll see tonight, like the characters have real emotions. They're not like gags, like they're sad, or worried or whatever. And so I was like, oh, this is really good. But again, everybody I know had the same thought. Everybody was like, oh, this movie Zombieland's great. Every actor I knew thought it was great, and we all wanted to be in it. So it was not like I had this great insight into this movie that could be good. No, I auditioned for it because Michael Cera turned it down, and 150 other people wanted to be in it.
What might have been, for good or bad, on that front. How many people here have seen Zombieland before, just out of curiosity? So, a couple hands didn't go up, so we will try not to spoil everything.
Oh, okay.
But I do want to talk a bit about kind of the dynamic in this movie, because it's such an eclectic cast. Did you have any existing relationships with Woody Harrelson, Emma Stone, any of the other folks?
No, I mean, I met Woody Harrelson at the screen test for Zombieland. I remember, that was the first time I met him, and I was like really starstruck. I've now done like 5 movies with him. I'm still very starstruck because he's one of these people that's like an icon, not just an actor. He's like has this presence where you feel like you're in the presence of somebody who's like an American symbol of something. I don't even know what the symbol is, but it's just has that You feel like just I don't know in the presence of something special. And I felt that there with him. And I remember like I like improvisation, and he does too. So we would improvise in the audition. I remember thinking, oh, that was good. That felt like good.
What did you improvise about? Do you remember?
I don't know, but I don't remember the audition improvisation, but basically there's a scene in this movie where we first meet, and I get into the car with him. You'll see it. It's like maybe 10 minutes into the movie. And I get into the front seat of the car with him, and I had my second panic attack on set. I get panics, whatever. So I shut down, and it was my audition scene. It was the scene I had auditioned with multiple times, and it's the opening scene between the two of us, which you'll see. I'm sitting in the front seat of his car, and I just shut down, and every time I had a line that was from the script, I froze up, and I did a bad job. So my brain went into like this weird kind of overdrive thing where I just started improvising tons of things. And so that scene is like, the writers are great. They're brilliant writers, you know. But like that scene, it just became my anxiety improvs. So I talked about all this weird stuff that was happening in the car because I had this weird mental break where it's like, if I said the lines from the script, they were going to be bad. Also because like I knew the director like loved Michael Cera, and like I know he offered it to him first or whatever. And when Michael Cera didn't want to do it, again, everybody in Hollywood auditioned for it who was like my age. And so in the scene, I suddenly had this like panic attack, like, oh, I'm not wanted here, I'm not wanted here, I'm not wanted here. And it's like it made me shut down. So I started like improvising jokes, and the jokes were funny in the movie, but it was like kind of a desperation thing. The other actors I didn't know. Emma Stone was like 20, and you know, she's still. I mean, she's like the smartest person I've ever met. She's
and like Michael Cera coming off of Superbad.
Exactly, he was in that. So yeah, they were. You know, it was like a Sony comedy. Superbad was a Sony comedy, so they just wanted to recreate that thing. So they wanted, you know, Greg Matola as well. But Emma Stone is a genius. I mean, she's my producer now, so I work with her every day, and she's like brilliant. You know, she's truly brilliant. And at the time, it was obvious. She was so funny. She auditioned for Zombieland. That's where I met her. I was already cast in it, and she came in to audition, and there was like 20 actresses that I read with that day, and she just started like making fun of me right away, and like really meanly making fun of me. But it was so funny, and she was just, and I liked improvising. And I was told by the director or casting people, like, yeah, improvise with the actresses a little bit to kind of get a sense of, playfulness or whatever. So I was doing that, and everybody was fine, but like kind of stuck to the script. And then she's smarter than me, and she's funnier than me, and she's faster than me. So she was just like insulting me back, but really cutting and funny. And she walked out of the room, and I was like, God, she's a genius. She's a genius. And she really is. I mean, now everybody knows that. But at the time, no one did. She was like an awkward, 20-year-old kid.
It's always interesting talking to actors because sometimes a movie that's a really fun time to watch turns out to have been a really difficult process that's invisible on the screen.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of fun stuff in this movie where it's these sequences where you're just doing something set to music for a while. Like when you demolish the store.
Yeah.
Is that kind of stuff fun to do, or is that as fun as it looks in the movie?
The movie probably was a lot of fun, but I was so nervous the whole time because I really did feel like, oh, I'm not wanted here. I know that's a crazy thing, but I felt so lucky to be there that I do this thing in my head where I like punish myself for getting some good thing happening to me because I'm a miserable person. So like, I remember just thinking like, I'm screwing this good thing up. And I remember when Bill Murray's in the movie. If you didn't know that, it doesn't matter. But Bill Murray makes a cameo.
It's still good.
Yeah. But like, I remember like Bill Murray, like he comes in for a cameo. It was like maybe 2/3 into the way shooting. And we didn't think we would get Bill Murray, so it was written for like these two, like it was like grandma and grandpa, and then they turn into zombies, and that's the joke. But then like somebody called Bill Murray. Anyway, it's a weird thing. But anyway, so when I heard Bill Murray's going to do the movie, I was just gutted. Everybody else was happy, but I was like, now I'm ruining this movie that has Bill Murray in it. I was nervous the whole time. I was just really nervous to be there. In retrospect, like, yeah, it probably would have been the most fun thing in the world. I was just really, really nervous that I was screwing it up.
You have a very small moment with Bill Murray, but what was it like for you to be on set with somebody like that who's, obviously...
He's very funny. I don't think if I ran into him on the street, he would ever know who I am. I don't think he made eye contact or said hello. He's an odd guy. He's just like an odd person. And I think he didn't like me or whatever, because he was like improvising and he's really funny, and I just think I was like kind of in the way. It's what I felt like. I was like, I feel kind of in the way. But he was so funny. He was so funny. Like, shockingly funny, like weird improvs, like not just like a good joke improvisation, like something odd and really brilliant. He's brilliant. He's singular and brilliant. But I just again I was coming at every day in that movie, coming at it from like the bad perspective of just like I'm screwing this thing up. So I just tried to keep my distance from him. But he was so funny, like really really funny.
No surprise there. Well, what about the zombies themselves? I mean, what is it like to act with people who are supposed to do all these wild things and crazy, bloody makeup?
It was great. I love working with like action stuff. I get to do it more than you would think from my physique, and I love working with like stunt people. I mainly had scenes with this guy Victor Pegua, who was like he's now a big stunt coordinator in Hollywood, but at the time he was just a stunt player, one of like 20 guys. He was my next door neighbor in New York, and we were hanging out there, and he was just physically gifted. He was a physically gifted person, and it was really fun to work with them. I like all that stuff. It's something like, you know, when you go to acting school and you're interested in comedy, you never think you're going to be like running or harnessed into something or have blood on your face because it's just not what you're training for. And yet I find myself always in those situations. Like the last movie I did was Now You See Me 3. There's tons of action in the movie, and I'm playing a magician or whatever, but there's like, you're harnessed into stuff, you're flying, you're doing all sorts of weird stuff. And the movie I did right before that, I played a Sasquatch in full Sasquatch costume, like in 3 hours of Sasquatch.
It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, it is a beautiful movie. And so, yeah, I like doing stuff like that. I'm a cerebral person, so if I can do stuff that takes me out of my head, I'm really happy.
Well, I don't know how much you would have thought about this at the time, but now that you're a filmmaker and maybe, you know, part of your brain is thinking about, you know, what does this mean thematically and so forth, I wonder what a movie like Zombieland means to you now, because the zombie genre goes all the way back to movies like Night of the Living Dead, and they've always been seen as sort of saying something about society in some very particular kind of way. So what do you think Zombieland is saying about the world that it depicts, or the world that we live in?
It's interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there are so many kind of possible attributable metaphors to what the zombie thing is. Is it about xenophobia? You know, or is it just about the fun of being able to kill things, but you're killing the things that are kind of bad, so it allows you to have fun while killing something without the kind of moral implications of killing a thing? I don't know. For me, it just, I don't think of anything like that. I'm not really interested in like the zombie genre, like as a genre, like I don't seek out that kind of thing or whatever. What I really did like about Zombieland was like the characters felt real. And like it could have been a zombie movie or a Matchbox car movie or a movie about another Jello pudding or whatever. Like as an actor, you're so focused on, or at least this is for me, like so focused on like what the characters are doing and if they're experiencing something real. And this movie, Zombieland, felt as real to me as any drama that I've been in, because that's what my kind of focus is. And you can't like act fake scared. Like my character in the opening of the movie is being chased around a gas station, and he's terrified that he's going to be killed. Like, it's the same acting you would do if you were like in a World War II movie and you were being chased by like the enemy. Like, it's the same acting you would do. You can't like do comedy scared acting. You know what I mean? And so it's like, so I was running around that gas station, and all of my feelings and preparation for the scene and breathing exercises before the scene are like literally the same exact thing you would do in a drama. It's just the context around you is comic. You see what I'm saying? So like actors, I don't think audiences tend to think that, because they think a lot of comic actors are doing some silly thing, but really comic actors are kind of dramatic actors in comedy contexts. You know what I mean?
There's also the element of the world building here that really stands out. I mean, we have another zombie franchise opening in the theater next week, 28 years later, so hopefully this is a bit of a scene setter for revisiting that genre here at the Playhouse. But I'm also really curious about the fact that this movie had a sequel 10 years later, and from my understanding, there is this desire to kind of keep that going every decade or so. Yeah. So what can you let us in on in terms of the sort of longevity of this franchise?
I don't know, like, we all like each other so much. I mean, that's all what it was. Like, the last movie I did, Now You See Me 3, was directed by the guy who directed Zombieland, and Woody Harrelson is in it, and I'm in it. And we all just like each other. Emma Stone, is, as I said, she's my producer, so, I still work with her. And that was the impetus. It was like, oh, we really like this thing. And the movies are, like, flexible. It's not about a current event. It takes place in the apocalypse, which could be now or 100 years in the future or 100 years in the past, because it takes place in this strange purgatory world. And it's a vehicle for being funny in this kind of comedy. And Ruben Fleischer, who directed both of the movies, he is really good at this kind of thing. He's just really good at this kind of intersection of comedy and cinema, because he is a good visual director as well as somebody who loves comedy, and so this is kind of a good sweet spot for him.
So the last thing I want to ask you about is you talked a bit about struggling with anxiety on this set. You talked about it in other contexts as well, and it actually loops in back nicely to what the movie is, which is a very anxious character. He's obsessed with all these details, these rules that govern his life.
Yeah.
There's a rule that he ultimately has to revisit later in the movie, and he changes a bit in terms of what his priorities are. And I wonder if you could talk just a little bit about kind of harnessing anxiety and how that has helped you creatively, or how you've sort of made peace with it, especially now that you're a filmmaker and you're dealing with a whole other sort of set of creative challenges.
Yeah, I just have come to live alongside crippling anxiety as opposed to trying to deny it or something. And so I just live alongside of it and see if it can help me in any way. Kind of an example of that would be if things aren't going well for me, the first movie I made, people didn't really like, and I, instead of kind of feeling bad about it, I'm an anxious person, so I'm scrambling to figure out what I can do differently. And so I wrote my second movie, which came out last year, and that was an apology for the first movie. So I'm because I'm anxious, it lights a fire under me really quickly. It's I see a threat happening even before I hear it. Do you know what I mean? Your family fled Austria in the Holocaust, so you understand what I'm saying. We come from paranoid people who had to leave somewhere, and so my wiring is a paranoid person who has to constantly flee. It's just that my life is very comfortable and easy now, so the things I'm panicked about are people didn't like my comedy. My grandparents were worried about something far worse, but I'm wired the same way as them, just without a war, and so it's helped me professionally.
So can you let us in a little bit on where you are creatively at the moment? Are you ready to make another movie?
Yeah. So I'm currently editing my new movie, which we just finished 2 weeks ago, with Julianne Moore is in it and Paul Giamatti, and it's a musical, and it's musical kind of. It's about a woman. It's about people who are putting on a musical, and so I'm editing that. I'm writing my next script and a TV series. So I'm constantly working, but it comes from the mindset of we have to get out of Poland.
Yeah. Pulled that off, although you're also a Polish citizen.
Yeah, that's true. So we can go back.
And then just off of that, people know you from films like this, and as you continue to evolve, maybe they know The Social Network, or maybe it's certain kinds of things, right? How does that affect you now, being recognized for certain specific roles as you continue to evolve as an artist?
It's amazing. I mean, I want to write and direct movies every year, and everybody in the world wants to do that, and I have this amazing, unbelievable privilege of people knowing me from acting in movies that I didn't write, didn't think of, didn't make. I just auditioned for them, and then I memorized the lines, and I showed up, and I'm so lucky, and I recognize that. I'm not saying I could make bad movies, but people will read my scripts. I know I have this insane advantage. I thank my lucky stars every day that I have that, and I recognize I have an advantage, and I recognize I'm very lucky, and I don't take it for granted. But being a movie actor in popular movies, again, to me, it feels like winning the lottery 7 days in a row, to get into one of those movies. And so I just feel really lucky, grateful. I don't have any cynicism about Hollywood movies, oh, it's commercial. I just don't think that way at all. Now You See Me 3 was the last movie I did. I'll do 10 of those movies. I love them so much, and it helps easier to get my weirder small things made. I recognize that, and you covered Hollywood more than anybody I know, so you know that to be true.
You found a nice balance in that respect. But do you go back and watch some of these movies? I mean, have you watched Zombieland recently?
No. But I don't like looking at myself. I don't also go back and look at pictures of me when I was younger. I mean, who does that? That's just a weird thing to do. I'm not I wonder how I sounded and looked. I don't want to know. I'm sure it was bad. And so, I also, you look in a mirror and you see the front of your face, and then you put on a movie that you're in, and oh, that's how I look from the side and the back. It's just awful to look at. And so I don't watch. I think there are some really vain actors. An actor once told me, I just watch my old movies and I just cry. And I was thinking, well, that's because you're a psychopath. And yes, So I don't really know people who go and watch their old things or something, but I don't.
So set the stage for Zombieland. A lot of people have seen it, some haven't.
Sure.
What would you like people to know beyond what we've already discussed, and what should they be looking for in this experience?
Oh, the best thing about Zombieland is you can probably turn it on at any point in the movie and enjoy yourself. The movie is just this really funny, warm hug that's kind of pretending to be really scary, but actually it's really sweet. Like it's about people who become a family in this post-apocalyptic world. And it's just like it's pure pleasure. It's like a purely pleasurable thing. I don't know if I've ever been in a movie that's been as like just so pleasurable that like you can turn it on anywhere and like this is so colorful, sweet, and funny at the same time. But it's kind of masquerading as a horror movie.
Absolutely. So on that note, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Please come back
I will.
sometime soon. We've got our Fast Cars series coming up. Tickets now on sale. Lots of good stuff. And Jesse, thank you for being here and enjoy the show, everybody.
Thank you for coming here. Thank you.